One of the recovery tools you can use is Backup and Restore for Windows 7. As the name suggests, this is an older tool, but nevertheless it enables you to perform a system image backup and to back up either automatically or manually specified files. By default, as you can see here, it will back up Andrew's libraries, or the user's libraries, and back up data for any newly created users. It will also include by default a system image of the drives, the EFI system partition and the C drive. If you don't want it to perform these automated backups, you can clear the options and then manually specify what you would like to include. You can also specify additional components on the attached disks that will be backed up, as well as the libraries and the system image. Be aware that performing a system image backup can be quite time consuming. So in the demonstration, let's have a look at performing a backup and performing a restore. To use backup, open Control Panel, and choose Backup and Restore Windows 7. Hasn't been established yet, so we can choose Setup Backup. I can choose to save on a network. That will do. I will connect as myself. Click OK. And then I can let Windows choose what to back up, and it will locate where I've stored data, or I can be very specific about what I want to back up. Let's go through that process. Backs up data for newly created users and backs up my libraries, camera roll, documents and so on. So long as I've saved my data into these libraries, which would be the default behavior, then it will pick those up for the purposes of backup. I know that actually I've also stored some data files in the data folder, so I'm going to select that. I can ask it to include a system image of system drives. That would allow me to perform a complete computer recovery. It can be quite time consuming to do that, so I'm going to deselect that option, but it's something I'll mention later. I can now configure a schedule. At the moment it's going to run a backup every Sunday at 7 PM. I can change that. So run a backup on a scheduled basis, weekly, what day, what time. But I'm just going to save settings and run a backup right now. So we can see that the backup is in progress at the moment. Okay, so that's mostly completed. There we go. So now I can have a look. Backup size is 1 gig. I can manage the space. Data file backup is 1 gig. System image is 0. Other files are 11 gig. Free space and so on. So I can then view the backups. Here we go. 1 gigabyte. I can delete that if I want to free up some space. Now let's take a look at restoring. I can restore all users' files, that's for every user on the computer, or I can select another backup to restore files from, or I can restore the files for the currently signed in user. So I can search for a specific file and browse for particular files in the backup. So you see here, this is the backup that I performed to DC Backups. It's a backup of drive C performed early this morning, and I can choose the users and data folder. Let's go into the data folder and I can choose to restore that particular file. And then choose next. I can restore it to the original location, or I can restore it to another location. I'm going to browse and say that I want to put it onto the desktop. And then choose restore. So there you can see how to restore an individual file. I can select another backup to restore files from, if another exists, and I can browse in a network location to find another backup. So you can see Backup and Restore Windows 7 is a very easy system to use. You can configure a schedule and you can specify that Windows just picks up the data libraries, or you can be more specific and target particular folders. You can also create a system image using Backup and Restore, which you can use to recover the entire computer should the need arise. Now you'll notice that I backed up to a network location. That's because this is a virtual machine. With a physical computer, you can of course back up to removable devices like memory sticks or external hard disks. Clearly, you don't want to back up to the same disk you're backing up. That doesn't provide a great deal of protection. In the demonstration, you saw how to perform a backup and how to restore files.